Hello! Today I'd like to talk about Tropico 6. I want to share some tips for new players to get them started on the right path as they develop their town. I hope you'll find them as useful as I have in playing the game. There are some buildings that can have positive effects on surrounding buildings. A big one that you can take advantage of immediately is plantations set to multiculture. Normally plantations lose fertility over time, so you're supposed to get lower crop yields as you keep farming. But the alternative work mode prevents that fertility loss, and in exchange you take a minus 40% to efficiency. But that setting also gives you benefits if you have plantations around that use the same settings but have different crops. You can actually get efficiency to over 100% by maxing this out. Another synergy is to have the plantations use the monoculture setting and have ranchers produce manure, then spray that manure over the plantations to restore fertility. Plantations and cattle ranchers can also unlock upgrades in the future that improve each other. Green Waste Chopper makes ranchers cheaper, while cattle ranchers can get the manure fertilizer upgrade to enhance plantations. Personally, I prefer the multicultural approach because if you use the manure method, your teamsters will need to move it around instead of something more productive, and you'll have to have a building and workers just to spray crap. It just seems smarter to avoid losing fertility in the first place. Regardless of which one you choose to take advantage of, make sure you're taking advantage of the synergies. It might seem obvious, but you should definitely use the map overlay views. It's a one-stop shop for all the information you need to plan your buildings. The first view to look at is resources. Take a note of where the gold, coal, iron, and other minerals are. Some resources like oil and uranium will unlock over time, so you want to know everything at the beginning, but note the ones you can't see. Then look at the fertility map for the various crops. It's a good idea to note those areas that are fertile to almost any crop. That's where you should put your plantations for maximum synergy. There's a similar overview for livestock types. The second tab also includes information about coconuts that you can harvest and forest density for logging. Otherwise, the rest of the settings are useful for seeing how your town is doing once it's built up. Another nifty setting is that you can change the color scheme if you're on the colorblind side, or you just don't like the default colors. Under options and gameplay, at the bottom is the colorblind mode. There's a variety of different color schemes. These types of accessibility settings are great to see. Tropico takes into account market fluctuations. Some are the result of events, but the availability of goods also affects the price. If you're selling too much of a good, it'll get cheaper. If you don't sell something, it'll get more expensive. So it's a bad idea to specialize too much into one product. Producing a variety of crops also helps you get efficiency bonuses by the multicultural synergies. Then as you go up eras, you'll be able to process raw products into goods for even more profit. It's a good idea to start thinking about having as many product types as possible as soon as you start the game. People and goods don't move instantly in Tropico. People have to travel from their homes to their workplaces and back home again, and goods have to move between workshops and then onto the dock for final export. This all takes time, and while they're traveling, nothing happens. So minimizing how far people and goods have to travel is a good idea to maximize how many goods you can produce. A good layout is to have clusters of homes where you have your schools, churches, taverns, and other services covering as many homes as possible. Concentrate plantations together for the synergies, then another cluster of homes. Same with industrial buildings. Ideally they should not be too far away from the sources of raw materials and the residential areas, but far enough away that the negative effects like pollution are minimized for the population. Pirates and other special forces are very useful. Once you build them, they accrue raid points. Once you have enough, you can spend them to carry out missions. Many of them are what you might expect. You can send out pirates to acquire goods and rescue people to join your town. All very peacefully, of course. Later on, you can influence the various factions and engage in espionage, or just go searching for random treasure. But one new feature you shouldn't overlook is the ability to acquire wonders. Their benefits last for the rest of the game and should not be underestimated. For example, in the colonial era, death from poor health is common. Getting enough workers while expanding your industry can be pretty tough. If you get the Hagia Sophia, that will immediately stop anybody dying from poor health. So that's several dozen people that you save every year. Combine that with the pirate raids to rescue people, and you can expand your settlements very quickly. Unfortunately, you can only have one wonder from each era, so choose carefully. But true to history, a bit of piracy and espionage can go a long way. Unless you've disabled them, every so often you'll get attacked by pirates during the colonial era. They'll come from the sea, but if you place watchtowers in places where they might land, they'll divert elsewhere. That might give your soldiers time to catch them. In addition, they usually target buildings outside their area of influence of forts and other bases. But if you place towers in the path, the enemy will be drawn to fight them instead of going for more valuable buildings. That will pin down the enemy and give your troops time to catch up and fight them. In later eras, the rebels will come from the hinterlands, so adding towers to cover the land side can help against them. Your goods will trade at whatever the market price is when you sell them. They'll make a profit, but you can make even more by doing contracts. Agreeing to a contract means that you agree to provide a fixed amount of a good, and in return you'll get a fixed price that's usually above market rates. Or alternatively, you can import a product and you'll be provided with a good, but at a higher cost than normal. For some rare goods, the profit margin on export contracts can be very large, sometimes going up to 80% above market rates, so they're well worth looking at. There's also the added bonus that you can get a relationship improvement with the other party by successfully fulfilling contracts. You can see the available contracts in the trade window. Sorting by margin will allow you to see the most profitable ones. If you have a free contract slot available, you can choose to sign for any of 3 amounts. Higher amounts are more profitable, but there's the risk that you might not be able to supply that much, so only agree to amounts that you're sure you can supply. It's better to take a small profit than to fail a contract. Typically I also only agree to the highest amounts if the profit is very high, something like 60% or more profit. For profits around 20%, I'll agree to the lowest amount to keep the contracts short, take a small quick win, and keep improving relationships. It's a good idea to expand the number of contract slots you have available once your production infrastructure is up and you're able to sell decent quantities. Investing some of that profit back into opening more slots will allow you to take advantage of more contracts. The game allows you to go up through the eras. The earliest is colonial, then the world wars, then the Cold War, then the modern era. Each era has its own properties and requirements you have to meet. For example, the colonial era has demands from the crown and pirate raids. As you go up the eras, you'll unlock new building types and industries that you can take advantage of. But when you go to the next era is up to you. You need to meet some requirements before you can progress, but after that, the timing is up to you. Take advantage of that to make sure you're ready for the next set of mechanics in the new era before progressing. The colonial era is mostly rural, but you can build plantations for every crop type, even if you haven't unlocked a building that processes them. Make sure you have a steady supply of crops, raw goods from ranches, and mines before you progress onwards. The World War era is the time to industrialize. You'll gain access to the first big batch of workshops to turn your raw materials into processed goods. Turn your iron and coal into steel, tobacco into cigarettes, and so on. This is the era to make sure you have a good supply of semi-processed goods for future eras, and so on as you go up. It's a good idea to look at what's unlocked in the next era and make sure you've got the resources ready, plus the money to unlock the plans before progressing onto the next era. Industrial resources in the game are limited. You may start with a lot of coal, iron, gold, and other minerals, but they're not renewable and you'll eventually run out at some point. In order to avoid that for as long as possible, you should avoid selling raw resources if you can help it. Make sure you process them into something more valuable because they always sell for much more than just a resource. This will make you money, but just as important, it will also keep your people employed. People who work have money, and people who have money can spend it to increase their happiness. Happy people will vote for you. It all starts with as much employment as possible. Sell renewable resources like crops, animal products, and logs instead. But of course you want to make sure you use the settings to maintain fertility and replant trees. Goods produced from these crops, like rum and cigars, will also be able to be sold forever. So make sure to save your mineral resources for when they can really make you money. There you are. Those are some tips that should help you get started on the road to success in Tropico 6. They're mostly focused on making money, but having lots of money is the key to winning in this game. If you take care to make your plantations as efficient as possible, prepare for future changes, focus on keeping your people fully employed, and of course engage in a bit of piracy, you'll be well set up to stay as El Presidente for as long as you want. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Feel free to leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified when new videos come out. See you soon.